Hello there, sword friends. This is going to be a rambly video. In one of my last channel updates, I asked if you like to see these types of rambling videos, and the answer resoundingly was, Well, no, that's not the case. Some people said they actually like me to ramble about swords, which is easy and fun for me to do. But more to the point, nobody really said, hey, I hope you choke on a bag of dicks and die in, boiling in your own excrement, which is pretty par for the course, I think, for the YouTube comment section, but nobody seemed to say they really hated and wish that I would shut up. So that's good. I will take that as a resounding positive answer. So this video is mostly dedicated to the Hanwei Tactical Wakizashi, and my question is really, why is it so desirable? I mean, if I'm being less politically correct, really, like, what the fuck? That's kind of my question. And let me elaborate. So the other day I was looking on the internet and I came across this article or ad for a sword. And this used to say it was, I'm selling a Hanwei Tactical Wakizashi for $350 or something like that. I have some Hanwei Tactical Wakizashis. I've had a few of them. To give you some insight, here's what it looks like. If it's new, it's got a paracord wrap, a saya made out of some stuff that isn't conventional wood stuff, I think. A 5160 blade, which Hanwei does make pretty good, durable spring steel swords. A habaki that is sandwiched between a ska mounted like a knife. The reason that's important is that this is made out of brass, and if this is mounted like a knife, you can't disassemble the handle. Brass sandwiched between steel is a softer metal, and as this flexes, will often develop a rattle over time. I suspect that will likely be a problem later down the line, but it's not on mine currently and hasn't been on any of the ones that I've dicked about with. Anyway, that's what the Tactical Wakizashi is. Retailed for $260, but this guy was selling it for $350, and I looked on eBay, and some of them sell for $220. And frankly, I've followed some of these auctions. I've sold some of them that I've had. I've never had a problem selling them for real close to $300, and I see that some people on eBay have sold them for more. And that's really my question. It's really rare to do that. Now, as some of you know, I buy and sell and trade and blah 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 swords quite a bit, and most often Hanwei swords sell for less than 50% of the MSRP that Hanwei advertises them for. In fact, very often significantly less, because you have your Hanwei MSRP, then you have a distributor like Cult of Athena, who's often thought of as like a price leader in the sword market, as a reputable dealer. And when somebody goes to sell it secondhand, maybe they will get 80% or 90% if it's in good condition of what Cult of Athena would sell it for, or substantially less, 50% or 40%, or sometimes even less depending on the condition and how fucked up the sword is. If it's got some scratches and some signs of wear, it's not uncommon for swords to sell for 50% of what the MSRP would be from Cult of Athena. So this sword selling used for more or very close to what the original Hanwei MSRP is really strange, right? This must mean people really desire this sword. Now, it's discontinued. Maybe you think, hey, that's it. It's discontinued. You can't get it anymore. Supply, demand. Supply is low. There is demand. Therefore, price goes up. That makes sense. I get that. But there are other swords that do not follow that. You have, say, the Bamboo Snake from Hanwei, or the 25th Anniversary Edition from Hanwei. Both of those will sell for slightly less than the average other Hanwei sword, just because of their rarity. But they still sell pretty close to like 50% of what they used to sell for when they were new. A lot of times you can find a really brand spanking new with all the bells and whistles Hanwei Shinto 25th Anniversary for around $1,000, which is less than what the original Hanwei MSRP was. At least I think it is. Some of the other, like the Bamboo Snake and stuff, I've bought those for much less than what the original MSRP was, which I don't even remember. It'd be completely speculative of me to guess what it was, but I know I bought one for a couple $100, and that was definitely much less than the MSRP. So the simple fact is that even if they're discontinued, even the original like Hanwei Shinto, the original Shinto made out of railway steel, which is a more historically significant steel because some guntos were made of that during wartime or something like that, I would think. But even those, they used to retail for $1,100 or $1,400 in some of the catalogs. And maybe if you find one in really good shape, it sells for $700. But very often you see them come up for $300-400, and that is much less than they used to retail for, and much less than the current version of the Shinto, which is, anyway. That's getting probably too into the weeds, but suffice to say, there are some examples of other swords that are discontinued that do not come anywhere close to what they used to sell for MSRP-wise originally. And that's what really makes me wonder about the Hanwei Tactical Wakizashi. Now, I happen to have one here that I think is pretty representative of what they were. I've had a few of them. I obviously don't have the paracord on it. The paracord was pretty decent quality paracord from what I recall, but I don't have it, so I won't comment further on it. But if I start over here, first off, handle, the rubber grip is, it feels soft for a hard rubber grip. Maybe that's being an oxymoron there, but it does have a softness in your hand for a tough rubber grip, but it's beginning to separate down here. Now this one is just sat inside, it hasn't been used, and it's still beginning to separate down here. I can pull my finger and slide my fingernail between the panels or the scales on here. It's mounted like a big knife, and I could put paracord through here. I mean, it's sturdy, it doesn't like wiggle around or anything at all, but it's still beginning to separate. There's also a lot of rust on the tang, and that's just from being handled. The tang is made out of carbon steel, and it will rust if handled, and it does, but that might distract some folks. Then the Suba is just a simple kind of washer. It's got some holes in it that might work to secure it down with paracord, which I think it needs because of one obvious kind of like it just lets go. The Habaki does not hold the saya really at all, and it hasn't on any of the tactical iterations that I've owned. None of them have really held well here. The saya is made out of a pretty durable substance. It's some sort of plasticky, resiny type thing. I don't know exactly what it is. I could read, but I'm not going to because I'm rambling right now. But there's one other kind of glaring flaw that I see from a tactical realm that I've noticed again on all of them, and that is, I mean, I'm no tactical expert, right? I'm not doing ninja maneuvers or on a SWAT team, and the closest thing I've really come to tactics is Final Fantasy Tactics, which is a great game, by the way. I wish they'd remake something like that, because that was very enjoyable, as I recall. But yeah, it's noisy. It doesn't seem tactical. Turning it upside down and having it fall out doesn't seem tactical. I think they make Molly, maybe, or Mole, I don't know how you say that term, but they make some bracket, or you could get some sort of bracket that attaches here so it could fit on some sort of tactical attire or lock in a way that maybe other katanas wouldn't. But if you turn it upside down and it falls out and it makes a bunch of noise when you move around, I don't know how tactical that is. My personal opinions, though, and I'm certainly no expert, admittedly, so maybe none of those, maybe silence while you move isn't important tactically. I guess I don't know. Maybe you just don't ever bend over when you're in a tactical situation, so maybe you only bend over when you want to get fucked in a tactical situation, so turning it upside down, that would never happen. I don't know, but all of these things kind of combined make me think that, when it sold for $120, this is a cool, novelty, fun sword. Feeling-wise, it feels great. I feel like I have a lot of point control. It's a short sword, so I would expect to have that feeling, but it doesn't disappoint. The lines and whatnot are clean. It's a reasonably sharp blade. It has a kind of a two-handed grip, which is fun, almost like a ko-katana. This is a very nice katana-length ska or handle grip. Very often wakizashis would be one-handed, and so the fact that this can be gripped easily with two is nice. The blade is, in overall appearance, is very utilitarian, which I think has a certain aesthetic appeal, at least to me personally. So there's a lot to like, and for $120, I think this is, a pretty fun fucking sword. There are other competing products that are around on eBay for around $50 or less, or maybe $100. But, to get Hanwei to know that they work with the 5160 really well, for $120 or even $260, it doesn't seem like a terribly bad idea. I got it with the intention of maybe thinking I would bring it out in the woods, bushcraft kind of thing. Like, I like swords in katana style more than I say like machetes, and I thought, maybe it would suit me in the woods a little bit more. But the fact that it, one is more expensive than a crappy machete or some of the bolos that I have is one deterrent. It falls out, and I have to care about it more. And it doesn't really have the profile that would make me want to split logs with it. really were the deciding factors to me saying, you know, I'm not going to use this. And so it sits on a shelf, and that's why I haven't cut with it or anything either, and why I'm not doing it or going to do a review on it, because you can't really buy one. Me cutting with it is going to diminish the value, and I'm probably going to sell it. So I'm not going to do any of that. But I do know Hanwei works with 5160 well. It's probably a good cutting blade. I think Hanwei has demonstrated that they can make a solid 5160 blade with reasonable geometry for cutting. So I don't think it would disappoint in terms of durability, but it's just not the right thing for me to use, and I don't have any tactical need for it. Bushcraft wise, there's just other pieces that I have that are less expensive, that I'm less nervous about whacking into rocks and trees and hard things, that frankly work better for that purpose. So that really brings me to my final point, and that is, I generally have a pretty positive outlook on the knife and sword community. Now, from that I mean, people don't waste their money in the community. Maybe they do in your opinion, maybe you have a different opinion than I do, but I've always found the sword community to be a fickle, discerning, picky group of people with a very wide distribution of interest. And very rarely are they interested in separating with their money for things and products that they don't like or that aren't worth it. So I think people must see something in this that I frankly don't, and I would love to know what it is, because I like swords. I mean, it's a cool sword, but why does this sword sell for so much more money in comparison, you know, relatively speaking, of course, than other swords? Why is the Hanwei Tactical Wakizashi, why do people have such a boner for it? Why does it sell for close to what the MSRP is, or sometimes over? I would really love to know. And if you have some information for me, throw it in the comments below. If you have something to contribute to the conversation, throw it in the doobly-doo. And that's what I got for you. As always, I hope this has been interesting, helpful, or in some way entertaining. And cheers, and thanks for watching. I'm not convinced that this is good. Somebody's pinging me. Is the Hanwei Tactical Wakizashi. Now, the other day, I was perusing Sword Forum International, or SBG, or some such thing, and I'm going to find it right now. This would be more entertaining if I had the shit ready when I started. When that shit. And, you know, you could... Oh, please interrupt me.
He's never gonna keep up with me.
Well, shut the door. I'm doing stuff. Come on. I'm trying to ramble.
Mama's calling you for dinner.
Mama's calling me for dinner. All right. Well.
He's never gonna catch up with me.
Let's